Desperado, why don't you come to your senses? You've been out riding fences for so long now. Oh, you're a hard one. I know that you got your reasons. These things that are pleasing you can hurt you somehow. Don't you draw the queen of diamonds, boy? She'll leave you if she's able. And the queen of hearts is always your best bet. Now it seems to me some fine things have been laid upon your table, but you're only one for once. You can't get desperado. Oh, you ain't getting young. Your pain and your hunger, they're driving you home. Freedom, oh freedom, well that's just some people talking. Your prison is walking through this world all alone. Don't you forget cold in the wintertime. The sky won't snow and the sun won't shine. It's hard to tell the nighttime from the day.
Yes, I needed to hear that again. After my video yesterday, my husband said, "Hey, oh, it was so nice you played that song," and I played it for my husband. So I'm replaying that because he said that. Anyway, this is Monica, your friend Monica. Yesterday I got my video short because I thought I kind of forgot. The last time I read the how you're going to develop Africa, it's been quite a long time ago. So I kind of forgot the order. Actually, I was right. I was not wrong. I'm reading on schedule. It's just that the section we're reading right now is very similar to chapter 2. So that's okay. We'll pick up the where we should be picking up, which is where's my book? Which is the Eastern Interlocutor States, which is in page 122. So that's where we are gonna pick up. See, I used to read it in a physical copy, but I read this one in a digital form. But before we do, I wanna talk about a couple things. I want to talk about, first of all, everybody needs to be aware that COVID-19 has never went away. COVID-19 is still here. creating a lot of problems for people. We humans don't have um, an immunity to it yet. Okay, it takes hundreds of years for you to become, um, like the common cold and stuff. It still kill people, but it doesn't kill a lot of people, and it doesn't hospitalize a lot of people like it used to be 100 years ago, right? So it takes a while for these viruses, for us to develop immunity to these viruses. So COVID-19 is still here. The problem is we live in a death cult, right? A death cult. We live in a settler colony, a society or a world order ruled by settlers, by people who have no regard for the well-being of human beings. This is the people who, the elderly, the disabled, the poor, and by extension, the largest racialized group, we are disposable, right? So misery, there is not concern. In fact, it's welcome. So of course they're not gonna let us know because they don't care about us living or dying. But it's still COVID. We still have to do the things we need to do to keep ourselves safe. We had to use masks. We had to wash our hands. We had to try and avoid large crowds and stuff like that. We still have to do that, but it's just not that we don't have nobody that's gonna help us, because like I say, we are disposable. All right, we are disposable. So that's one thing. And the second thing I want to say is yesterday I was up at, well, was that yesterday? Yeah, the day before yesterday, my husband told me that his mom in a hospital, that she has a bronchitis, which I mistook like a tuberculosis or something like that. So he'll be there for a few days. And so, okay, well, I didn't think it was gonna be a huge deal, but so I was just like, I hope she recover. And so then fine, I didn't hear much after that. And then I did my video, and then I went and and I did my video, ate me some snack, and I went and took my shower. And while I was in the room getting dressed, he came to the room visibly distressed and told me that we should be going to the hospital because his mother had taken a turn for the worse. So I said, sure. So I got dressed, and as I was going out, he then re-instructed me to go ask for Emily and Lacey, his daughters, to come with us. Now I didn't communicate this to the girls, but he just wanted them just in case she does not make it for them to come with us, which I did. And I went and told the girls to come with us, and I just said that the grandmother is in a hospital, if they want to come with us, and they said yes, so they came with us. And then when we got there, she was being moved from the regular room to the ICU because she was having trouble with breathing. And so okay, no, well, I'm still in a very positive note because, as you get older, people can get in a hospital, but that doesn't mean that it was to be a demise. They can recover, okay? So I'm always in a mode that, especially supposedly this is a technologically advanced medical settings in U.S. supposed to have the advanced medical. That's why we had to have this disgusting expensive healthcare system. So I assume the outcomes are pretty good on keeping people alive. But anyway, so after after that, I was like, okay, so I'm thinking she's gonna be alright. I mean, she looked like she's struggling, but she can recover, right? She's a fighter. Um, and then they said we gotta go to the waiting room. So we went to the waiting room, and um, and I was in the waiting room, and then my husband's sister, Chris, she was like, that we gonna go see her, right? And she said it can only be 2 people at a time. All right. So fine. And then I said that when the 2 people, I'm gonna go with David. So it's just me and David will go when this. And then she said I can't go. I'm like, why I cannot go? And I'm like, and who are you to tell me I can't go? Like, what, under what grounds? And then she is doubling down. I'm like, why can I not go? Like, everybody can go except me. Fine. I was like, well, can David go? Yeah, David can go, but I can't go. That's what the stupid bitch say. So I'm getting really, I mean, first of all, I'm going, I can because of David, right? And also because of Jean, okay? I actually care about the woman. I have no problem with her. Every interaction I ever had with her, ever since I've been knowing her for nearly 10 years, it always been a pleasant experience. But even in moments in which there may be a bit of a disagreement, I never felt like she ever shut me down. She always gave me an opportunity to be able to convey things, from whatever perspective and within whatever limited rights that I have in their family, right? So I never felt. Now her, that stupid bitch, who's supposed to be a nurse, but she's a grossly racist. She is not like that. She is not like that. She thinks that she treat her mother like it's her personal property, right? That's how she treats her, right? She, like, the stupid bitch never get married, don't have no children. And honestly, I think that's part of the reason why Jean's immune system may be so down. Like, this woman had to take care of all these worthless people who suck life out of her, right? It's really disturbing to me. And that's why they're probably mad at me, because they wanted to reduce my husband to the same thing. And I said, no, he needs to live his life. He did what he has to do, and that's it. And it's so weird how white folks expect the rest of us to fend for ourselves, but then they literally slave to their own fucking kids that they never let them grow up. The kids see them with like a dollar sign, right? So much so that Jean had to literally say aloud, where everybody can hear, that if she ever in a position that she's incapacitated, her money should be used to take care of her. Literally, she literally had to say that, which I thought was really astonishing and really shocking. And everybody, like, yeah, that's, like, why would she even feel like she has to say that? Because this shit, like, I went to see them. I'm supporting my husband. Obviously it's a distressful thing for him, and I went to give her the support, and also because I like the woman. Because I'm like, why would she want to let me go see with David? Why? But that is the least trouble to me. The trouble is that Jean was there already over 24 hours. And then they did not do all the things they needed to do for her, and her condition deteriorating. Why is that? If she has all this power, why she let that slide? That all the things that needed to be done to address whatever issue needed to be done as precipitously as it could have been done, that was not done. So she even fell out of one task that her mom's supposed to be, that she assigned her to do. Right? because I don't think she cared too much about her mother well-being. Right? That's just how I feel about it. She cares about she's some sort of a property of sorts, right? It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And then they may not like me because I'm not trying to sugarcoat people who lack basic human values or human, is everything is reduced to money instead of human existence in this life. For example, his brother, there's another pathetic one. When one day me and my husband we did, because we all about the same age, so we did a thing that we could get colonoscopy, and he's like a year older than my husband. My husband is about a year older than me, and we told him that like he should consider doing that, and he's like he doesn't want to do it because he something to the effect that he has a life insurance that has millions of dollars, that way he can leave millions of dollars to his fucking kids. And I'm like, how is that like so you rather like not extend your life in this life to be a figure in this life for your children or for the rest of us or for society or whatever, so like you can suck life money out of the system to give to your pathetic children? For what purpose? Like your kids can't work like the rest of us have to work? It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Only people I feel bad for is Jean. Jean is who I feel bad for. A woman who make life for herself, who went out there, got married, have children, work hard. It was good. Not only a good mother and a good grandmother, but also a good sister. And for everything I see is everything I can respect, right? I don't have to agree with everything, but at the level of humanity, I like the woman, and I wish she can recover her health and she can enjoy her own life instead of being a slave to worthless people that should grow the fuck up. So that, and another person I feel bad is Henry, because he's the one who's gonna lose his constant companion and the love of his life. A selfless man that actually loved this woman and cared for her, and I just see her like a fucking dollar signs. Right? That's another person I feel bad about, and that's just how I feel about it. I think like when we see disturbing behavior even within ordinary people, and we don't speak about it, we are doing the service to the rest of humanity. We really are. That's all I wanted to say, and now I'm gonna go to my reading. Yeah, my mom just asked me. I asked her to go vaccinate herself for COVID-19. She said no because my single vaccine didn't work. Anyway, let's read. Let's start our reading. Okay, here it is. So we're gonna start with the Eastern Interlagostan state. In early discussion, attention was directed to Bonyoro Kitara as the most advanced social political formation in East Africa up to the 15th century. His ruling dynasty, the Behwiksi, declined for reasons that are not clear, and they were overwhelmed by new immigrants from the north. Why? There is some doubt as to whether the Behwiksi had an Ethiopian origin. It is clearly established that the 16th century immigrants were Luo peoples from a section of the Nile that flows through the Sudan. Following the Luo migration, a new land known as the Babito dynasty was placed in power over Bonyoro proper. Other branches of the same dynasties were enthroned in several places, sometimes breaking off the line, breaking off the main line. As late as the 19th century, a separate Babito kingdom was carved out in Toro. Meanwhile, Bawizi or Bahia had staged a combat in region to the south in the form of a clan known as the Banhida. The Banhida were one of the pastoralist clans of the old Banyoru Kitiara state, and then in the period from the 16th century onwards, the stronghold was in Ancolet and Karawi. Obviously, the new Babida ruling classes immediately sought to take control of the land, but in accordance with the settled African custom, they later tried to project themselves as the original owners of the land rather than usurpers. And Busoga, where there were several small Babito kings, a researcher reported the following dialogues about land between the members of the royal clan and the commoner. The royal clan member, we found this place empty and made something of it. You fellers later came round begging for land, so we were generous and gave you. And that is a quotation by the way, quote, royal clan members, we found this place empty and made something of it. You fellows later came around begging for land, so we were generous and gave you some. Naturally, you are now our slave, close quote. Commoner, quote, oil, what a lie. We were here long before you. You took your power by trickery. You princes have always been scoundrel, close quote. At no stage in the independent history of these interlocustran states, their land became purely personal possession. To the monopolized by a given class, as in the classic European feudal models. Scholars frequently demand these features before they concede that feudalism has arrived. I don't know what's making me cough. Okay. But they failed to take into account the reality of the fact that this distribution and use of or produce of the land may be in the hands of few. And they failed to realize that when cattle were a dominant form of wealth, then private ownership of herds was also part of the process by which producers were separated from the means of production. To be specific, those who owned the herds were usually the Bahinda or other Bahinda or the new Babito families, while others who tended them were clients and virtually serfs of the owners. As far as land was concerned, the peasant who farmed pay a heavy tax and crops to the clan heads and ruling authorities to allow the latter to live without resort to agricultural work. It is necessary to recall that in the process of independent evolution on all on all continents, the increase and productive capacity was accompanied by increased inequality at all stages except socialism. To say that the interlocution zone continued developing uninterruptedly up to the eve of colonialism is to highlight the expanded productive capacity of the states and at the same time to recognize frankly that it was the result of an increased exploitation not only of natural resources but also of the labor of the majority. The latter were disenfranchised and oppressed to get them to toil in the interest of a few who live in palaces. The Interlocustan kingdom fell mainly in what is now known Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi. Only in the northeast of Tanzania are there representative of the Interlocutan complex of states. Northeast Tanzania was the most developed portion of the country in the pre-colonial epoch because the rest of the mainland Tanzania comprised numerous small kingdoms that had not decisively fell behind the communal states. But northeast Tanzania was also the corner of the country in which problems arose when a new ideology of egalitarianism was being preached after the end of the colonial era, because there was already a regime of inequality in the distribution of land and produce and in the rights granted to individuals. In fact, in any meaningful political sense, the area was feudal. There is some disagreement as to the origins of the important Interlocutan state of Buganda. Some traditions give it the same low origin as Bongoro, while others tend to hold that it was a Bewazi survival. It is a social structure certainly parallel that of Babito Bongoro closely. Contrary to the situation in Ankole and Buganda, the Bahina did not have the reins of political power. They were only associated with the cattle-owned ruling class, very often in the junior capacity of a herdsman. In any event, Buganda history was one of the gradual expansion and consolidation at the expense of Bongoro and other neighbors. By the 18th century, it had become the dominant power in the whole region. The Buganda state had a sound agricultural base with bananas as a staple and with the cattle products being available. The craftsmen manufactured backcloth for export and local production of iron and pots was supplemented by imports from neighboring African communities. The lack of salt was a big stimulus to the standing of the trade networks to obtain necessary supplies, and as was true of the Western Sudan, such an extension of the network of commerce was in effect integrating the productive resources of a large area. Karl Peters, the advanced agents of German colonialism in East Africa, remarked that, quote, and in estimating the political and commercial affairs of East Africa, too little stress is laid on the internal trade among the tribes. The barter trade of Buganda defies all direct calculation, close quote. In Buganda case, the absence of slave trading must have been important in expanding international production and trade and therefore providing a sound base for the political superstructure. Okay? You see? Anyway, let's keep on. The kings of Buganda set up a small permanent armed force which served as a bodyguard, and the rest of the national army was raised when necessary. The political administration was centralized under the Kabaka, and direct rulers were appointed by the Kabaka and his council rather than are left to be provided by the clans on a hierarchical family basis. Great ingenuity went into devising plans for administrating this large kingdom through a network of local officials. Perhaps the best tribute to the political sophistication of Buganda came from the British when they found Bugandan and other Eastern African feudalists in the 19th century. They were the best tributes because they were reluctantly extracted from white races and culturally arrogant colonists who did not want to admit that Africans were capable of anything. See that? But let's keep going. Sounds like my family. But anyway, actually, Europeans were so impressed with what they saw in the Interlocutan zone that they invented the thesis that those political states could not possibly have been the work of Africans and must have been built at an earlier date by white, quote, Hemenites, close quote, from Ethiopia. This myth seemed to get some support from the fact that Bekwisi were said to have been light-skinned. However, in the first place, had the Bekwisi come from Ethiopia, they could have been black or brown Africans. And secondly, as noted earlier, the cultures of East Africa were synthesis of local development, plus African contribution from the outside the specific localities. They were certainly not foreign import. Assumption that the Bekwisi or Bahima were from Ethiopia, then they lost their language and became Bantu speaking like the subjects. The same thing happened to Babito dynasty. Hey babe, can you just pour me some water from a hot chocolate there, if it's okay? Please. Let me see, what was that? Okay. The same thing happened to the Babito dynasty of Luo extraction, indicating that they have been absorbed by the local culture. Furthermore, the Babito and the Bahinda also forged close connection from the 16th to the 19th century. And in fact, out of different ethnic groups, castes and the classes, a number of nationalities were emerging. The nationality group is held to be that social formation which immediately preceded the nation state, and the definition applies to the peoples of Buganda, Bongoro, Ankole, Karawi, and Toro, as well as those in Rwanda and Burundi. Rwanda, we're now going to go to Rwanda. The westmost portion of the Interlocutan zone comprised the Kingdom of Rwanda of Burundi. The two countries which today bear those names are centered around the old kingdoms. The experience of Rwanda will be cited here. By the way, this jacket was given to me by my uncle, Tio Pepe. My uncle, he likes me. He know I like jeans. He gave me two. Every time I go to Spain, he gave me a lot of clothes. So I have a lot of hand-me-down for my uncle and buy me clothes and shoes. It's like, to my uncle, I'm always like his little niece, even though I'm 50 years old. And he always say, deja de la lata, deja de dar la lata. Meaning, stop giving us so much trouble. And like, you just think I'm immature. I'm not immature. I love my uncles so much. I'm so lucky. I love my uncles. My uncles through my mother's side and my uncles through my dad's side. And my aunts on my dad's side. I lost one aunt. I still have two. Yeah, I'm so lucky. I'm lucky. Not so much because I'm blessed with family that love me and care about me, but like it in a sense that I have love for humanity as a whole, right? And that's what people, when I see people who dehumanize and they lack, it just gross me out. You know, it's just like these are worthless people. It's repugnant. And when I see that, I just see through it. And like these people are disgusting. These are the reason we have the problems we have. These are what we have: genocides, we have racism, we have abuse. These, it's a thing. It's in the water, I suppose. You know, and I just feel like there's no amount of money. They're degenerate, in fact. Only thing they have is, I guess, money or something. I don't know. Well, I don't know what they have. I don't want shit from them, to be honest. It's disgusting. We had to pray for them that they were stay in church. Just pray for them. Anyway, let's keep going. The westmost portion of the Interlaken zone comprised the Kingdom of Rwanda and Burundi. The two countries which today bear those names are centered around the Old Kingdom. The experiences of Rwanda will be cited here. Like the old Bonjoru Kiara Kingdom, and like his northeastern neighbor state and Ankoli, Rwanda was split into two major social groups. Through the great majority of the population were cultivators known as the Bahutu. Political power was in the hands of Batusi pastoralists, comprising about 10% of the population. As even smaller minority were the Batwa, about 1% who were at a very low level of pre-agricultural social organization. The relative physics of the three social segments in Rwanda offer an interesting commentary on the development of human beings as a species. The Batusi are one of the tallest human groups in the world. The Bahutu are short and stocky, and Batwa are pygmies. The difference can be explained largely in terms of social occupation and diet. The Batwa were not living in a settled agricultural community. Instead, they wandered around in a small band, hunting and digging roots, thereby failing to assure themselves of plentiful of rich food. At the other extreme, the Batusi pastoralists were subsisting on a constantly accessible and rich diet of milk and meat. And by the way, speaking of bloodlines, okay, and speaking about family relations, especially when it comes to political side of it, if you we have to be careful. For example, nobody speak for me, not my daughter, not my uncle, not my mom, not my husband. Nobody speak for me. I speak for myself. If something ever happened to me, I don't want nobody to say, well, my aunt or my sister or my mom or my grandmother, she, this is what. No, because there's something disturbing. It's happening right now. The former, hold on. So the former Black Panther leaders, they their family members. For example, the main leader was funded by Huey Newton, right? Huey Newton, now his niece is out here defaming him, trying to say that he would never have been anti-imperialist. Like, she now says she gotta fight the Somalis and like defaming his uncle. Like, who the fuck are you? Who are you? Like, what the fuck? Like, Mr. Newton was internationalist. He was anti-imperialist. That was his politics. Because the root of our oppression is not because in a local thing, it's a global thing. We were stolen in one place. We were relegated as a slave race. It's not because it's just one country here and there. No, 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 no. Our oppression is global. It is. We racialize people. Who the fuck is she now? And her name is Maisha Newton. She now is over here saying that he's speaking for him. Imagine the most disgusting person you can find. And now because they're related by blood? What? No, we can't. She does not speak for Mr. Newton, not at all. She doesn't. And so that's why we have to be watching with the fucking like, just because they're family member don't mean they represent our revolutionaries. It's not about blood. He was not working on behalf of his family. He was working on behalf of the liberation of oppressed people. He represents us as a whole, not his fucking family. His family is irrelevant. His condition, his oppression was not based on because he was a member of the Newton family. His oppression was based on the fact that he was a member of black people. It's black people the oppressed, the problem, not his fucking family. Okay? So we have to be careful when family members start speaking, especially to our political leaders and our tradition and people who have laid the groundwork for us. Their fucking families do not speak for the cause, because the cause is about all of us collectively, not about their fucking families. So I just wanted to get that out of my chest. But let's keep going. Okay, what was that? On the other hand, not living in a settled cultural community, instead, they wander around in a small band, hunting and digging roots, thereby failing to assure themselves of a plenty of the rich food. One moment, I gotta go get my hot chocolate. Anyway, let's keep going. At the other extreme, the Batusi pastoralists were subsisting on a constantly accessible and rich diet of milk and meat. The Bahutu were more socially advanced than the Batwa. They ate more and more regularly than the latter because Bahutu agriculture meant that they did not live entirely on the whims of nature, following a scarce game like the Batwa. However, the quality of their food fell short of the protein-rich Batusi diet. Thus, the development of man as physical being is also linked in a broad sense to expansion of productive capacity and in the distribution of food. In any event, it was the political and military achievement rather than the height which distinguished the Batusi from a historical viewpoint. Their contribution to Kingdom of Rwanda goes back to the 14th century to a period contemporaneous with the Bawizi. There were indeed striking parallels and actual links between Rwanda and Ankole and between Karawi and Burundi. But unlike Bongoro Kitara, Rwanda in the 14th and 15th centuries was far from being a single political entity. There were several small chiefdoms, and and it was the expansion of a central Rwanda Tutsi clan which gradually created a small compact state in the 17th century. Later still, the central Rwanda state extended its frontiers, and it was still doing so when the colonists arrived. For instance, rulers in Pororo, Ankole were already paying tribute to Rwanda, which was growing at Ankole extent. At the head of the Rwanda kingdom was the Mwami. As with so many other African rulers, his powers were sanctioned by religion belief and his person surrounded by religious ritual. Feudal kings in Europe often tried to get their subjects to believe that royal authority emanated from God and that the king therefore ruled by divine right. Subjects of African kings, like those of the Waimi of Rwanda, often accepted something quite close to that proposition. Of course, in addition, the authority of the king had to be based on real power, and the Waimi of Rwanda did not overlook that fact. Rojugira was a famous Waimi of the 18th century, and the last of the independent line was Rwabugiri, known also as Kigeri IV, who died in 1895. Gahindiro is another of those praises who were sung by the court musicians and historians. Each of them was associated with one or more contribution to referring and elaborating the power structure of the state, which meant that they each embodied certain historical class and national forces. The Waimi Ruhagira in the 18th century took the step of placing his frontier zone under the exclusive authority of a military commander and stationing strong contingents of soldiers there. The move was significant because in any young and growing state, the most uncertain areas are those on the frontiers known as, quote, marches province, close quote, and a European feudal terminology and a European feudal terminology. Ruhagira was in effect placing the marches provinces under military law and also put permanent military camps at strategic places. In the 19th century, Waimi Gahindiro overheld the civil administration. In each province, there was created both a land chief and a cattle chief, one being responsible for farm rents and the other for cattle dues. Besides, and by the way, if you read a Chaway book, All Things Fall Apart, you will get that also. All Things Fall Apart. Anyway, let's keep going. Besides, there were smaller district authority or quote, Hills chief, close quote, within all the provinces. All members of the Batusi aristocracy. Whether by accident or design, it turns out that administrators responsible for different areas and different matters were jealous of each other, and that kept them from united to conspire against the Waimi. See? That's how it is. Petty fights. And that's what keeps us oppressed. We so preoccupied by petty fights that we don't look the larger problems and the larger enemy that keep us all in chains. It's sad. But, but let's keep going. What was that? Meanwhile, what was that? But under the no. The quote-unquote Hilshi were for a long time hierarchical within the given Batusi clans or lineages. But under the Raguri, they became appointed, another move which strengthened central government. Meanwhile, the civil servants and councillors, collective known as Biri, were given grants of land which were free from the intervention of the land and the cattle chief, thereby cementing the royal of the Biri to the throne. The system of social relation which emerged in Rwanda was more complete, hierarchical, and feudal than in most other parts of Africa. Hierarchy and social-legal interdependence of classes and individuals were features found in the army, in the civil administration, and in the social fabric itself. The key to everything else was the control over the cattle through an institution known as Yubu hierarchy. This meant that the poor and cattle and those of low status by birth could approach anyone with more cattle and more respected status and offer his physical labor service in return for a cattle and protection. The cattle were never given as outright property, but only the usufruct was handed over to a client. Therefore, the client could have the use of the cattle for so long as the reciprocal by handling over milk and meat to his overlord, and for so long as he remained loyal. Of course, the peasants on the land also had to perform labor services and provide tribute in the form of food. The Batusi aristocracy fulfilled their function of offering quote-unquote protection partly by making representation at the Wami court or by defending the dependents in legal cases. Above all, however, the protection came through its specialization in the military art. Ever since the 15th century, there have been compulsory military services for certain Batusi lineages. Sons of the Batusi aristocracy became royal pages, receiving all their education training within the military context. Each new Wami made a fresh recruitment to add to existing forces. Some Bahutu were associated with particular regiment to provide supplies, and the Bawa were also incorporated as specialist archers with poison arrows. Of course, the protection which the Batusi gave to Bahutu was a myth in the sense that what they were guarding was the exploitation of the Bahutu. They defended them from external enemies so that the population became dense and plentiful. They conserved the Bahutu so that the latter could exercise their highly developed agronomical knowledge to produce surplus. Furthermore, the top stratum of Batusi were the cattle owners, and they felt the cattle to the lesser Batusi to tend, thereby exploiting the label and profound empirical knowledge which the common cattle herders possessed. As in Europe and Asia, such was the socio-economic base which supported a life of leisure and intrigue among the Batusi aristocracy. These are, I just have to say that this is a part that a lot of Black folks, we had aristocracy in the ancient time, as if that's the most important thing. That shouldn't be the most important thing. The most important thing is that they didn't get a chance to develop, you know. Yeah, the development was rested by colonizers, and you know, and it's still being rested today. So I don't really care. I really don't care about this aristocracy. I mean, I care about a professional class, people who have a special abilities to do the most difficult tasks. You know, yes, because those are important for civilization, but not aristocracy. Like it's disgusting. But let's keep going. There was a little intermarriage between Batusi and Bahutu, and hence they are regarded as castes. The Batusi can be similarly categorized, but since the castes were hierarchically placed one over the other, it was also a situational class, and there was upwards and downwards mobility from one class to another to a certain extent. At the same time, Batusi, Bahutu, and Bawa together evolved as one nation, having common interests to defend against even the Batusi, Bahutu, and Bawa who compromised the kingdom of Burundi. The people of Rwanda were not unique in development, state, and sense of the national consciousness, which at the same time experienced the rise of more sharply differentiated class and castes of society. The important thing is that they were free to develop relatively unaffected by alien influence and certainly free from direct ravages of the slave trading. Alright, so today we'll leave it there because I want to go hang out with my husband. And tomorrow we'll pick up an Amazulu. And yeah, we'll pick up an Amazulu. And I'm just hoping that she will recover and she recover. That's what I'm hoping for. I feel concerned and sad. But before I leave, I'll leave you with a favorite. I think I'm gonna leave you with Victor Jara again, Manifesto, like yesterday.
From food grade lubricants to LED lighting and every product in between.
Yo no canto por cantar, ni por tener buena voz. Canto porque la guitarra
tiene sentido y razón. Tiene corazón de tierra y alas de palomita. Es como el agua bendita, santigua glorias y penas. Aquí se encajó mi canto, como dijera Violeta. Guitarra trabajadora, con olor a primavera. Que no es guitarra de rico, ni cosa que se parezca. Mi canto es de los andarios para alcanzar las estrellas. Que el canto tiene sentido cuando palpiten las venas del que morirá cantando las verdades verdaderas, no las lisonjas fugaces ni las famas extranjeras, sino el canto de una lonja hasta el fondo de la tierra. Ahí donde llega todo y donde todo comienza, canto que ha sido valiente, siempre será canción nueva. Siempre será canción nueva. Siempre será canción nueva.